this statement. I get a little annoyed when people center left in Alberta look at they just write off conservatives, period. And the reason why they do so is they look back at the 40 or 45 years that the conservatives were in power, and they use that to beat conservatives over the head. I have argued time and again that the Progressive Conservative Party of Alberta were hijacked by Liberals in the time of Stelmach, if not earlier, but Stelmach was definitely what you'd call a red Tory. And since that point, all the way up till the split where the Wild Rose began, the PCs were not progressive conservatives. Well, they were progressive, but they were not conservative. Would you agree with that?
Well, we're going to slow our roll here, and I'm going to give you the actual history so you understand. I know what you're trying to say here, but let's just roll back the clock to the formation of Canada. There was only a Liberal Party and a Liberal Conservative Party, okay?
Yep.
All Laurentian, so there's no such thing as a true conservative ever to begin with. It was red and pink, no blue at all, okay?
Okay.
The Conservative Party formed, and there was no progressive either. You know what progressive is, right? That's left.
Yep.
So a conservative, the Liberal Conservative formed into a much stronger socialist conservative called Progressive Conservative, because they took their first separately formed party, which was actually formed here in Alberta, called the Progressive PPC, Progressive Party of Canada. Okay? It was done here, PPC, not Maxime Bernier's PPC.
Right.
And it was done because they were starving the farms. All the farmers got together and they coalesced into United Farmers, basically a farmers' union. Okay? So 100% union in that respect. Okay? The first union really for Alberta. And a large scale government with a lot of progressive ideas. They had to, because they couldn't make it independently, right? Everyone was starving. So they made that party in Alberta. It spread out. It had a provincial and a federal party. And the Liberal Conservative finally merged with it out of the 20s, and it became the Progressive Conservatives. So it's always been pink Tory, guys. I'm sorry that there are some conservative values. Like there's, when you start adding words to conservative, it changes the whole thing, right? Progressive conservative, right?
Just like social justice.
What does that mean? Yeah. What does it mean, right? You can't really define it. So it's based in serious socialism to begin with, but not as bad as the original liberal. And you know what? Globalism has always been the narrative of the liberal and the liberal conservative parties, who are at the grassroots have always been liberal, who will always put the interests of the foreigner, business, finance, and other country first. They have strong ties to the United Kingdom and France. Same with the progressive conservatives that are now, which are now Canadian progressive conservatives, whatever that means, right? But they have strong, strong ties, both parties, to all foreign interests, which is globalism. Liberals and conservatives alike, it's just a matter of one tries to put some physical restrictions in it to not take too much and not hurt the people as much as the other, or the other believes, who cares? We want full socialism anyway, and we can let the globalists take over, take away your nationalism, once somewhat, once nationalism, but not for over 14 years. And I think if Canadians start looking at things as what it really is on the world stage, they start reading binding law from our allies from World War II, who knew just how bad it gets, said we're never going to let this happen again. These are the rules of the world. This is what you have to agree to as a sovereign state to be a member with us, and this is how the whole world will work. Follow the rules or we're going to get you. And that's what's happening to Canada. We can blame the USA, we can blame China, we can blame Russia. And I'm not saying any of those countries are great. Yes, they all have their problems, but they got the big stick. We don't.
Right.
And if we do follow the rules and we follow everything, a lot of things aren't going to be as bad as they are now, that's for sure. I'd love to change Canada, but it's just too big, too diverse economically to ever go back. People don't want to lose, and it's all politically unfair. Representations aren't fair, and governments don't want to change them. Neither conservative or liberal want fair, direct democracy or want to see any kind of education or narrative. They like the three people with the power and they leave it that way. They like the party whip. You'll do as I say. I have all the power. And you know what? Foreign interests fund me to express that power. And the more I do for them, the more I fill my own pockets. Screw the rest of you. And I'm sorry, Canadians, Albertans, there is no other narrative. That's the narrative. Get rid of everything else. If it sounds radical and you know everything else, it's easier to just accept what is right in front of you. It's easily read, reasonably understood, and accept it. That's the way the world's supposed to be. That's not what Canada does, and you're in a civil law socialist to be system that's against those five realistically, you know, and you know, where do we want to be? This post-national state? I don't think so.